Hyunwoo stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, his hands clasped behind his back. The room was massive, built to hold representatives from 47 different alien species. Above him, holographic displays showed stars and planets from across the galaxy. The air smelled strange, like metal and something sweet he could not name. He had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now. In that time, he had learned many things about the galaxy. He learned that humans were considered young and stupid. He learned that other species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, while humans had only managed it for 50. He learned that the Council did not respect Earth. Today would prove all of that true. Ambassador Hyunwoo, a voice boomed across the chamber. It came from Thesh, a tall reptilian creature covered in dark green scales. Thesh commanded the Council's military forces, his yellow eyes fixed on Hyunwoo with something like amusement. Your species has been given a simple choice. Surrender your outer colonies to Council control, or face consequences. Hyunwoo took a slow breath. The colonies on Europa, Titan, and Ganymede are legally human territory. We discovered them. We built them. Thousands of families live there now. Legal? Thesh's mouth opened in what might have been a laugh. Around the chamber, other aliens made similar sounds.
Human law means nothing here.
The Council has decided these moons contain resources we need. Your people will leave or they will be removed. Back on Earth, Hyunwoo had been a professor of history. He had studied every war humanity ever fought. He knew what happened when powerful nations bullied weaker ones. He knew what happened when diplomacy failed. But he also knew Earth was not ready for war with the entire galaxy. We request more time to consider, Hyunwoo said carefully. You have had weeks, another alien said. This one looked like a floating jellyfish made of blue light. The Council grows tired of human delays. Hyunwoo felt his communicator vibrate in his pocket. It was a message from Da-un, the admiral in charge of Earth's defense fleet. She was watching this meeting from her ship near Mars. The message was short. Don't give them anything. He looked up at Thesh. Then humanity's answer is no. We will not surrender our homes. The chamber fell silent. Then Thesh stood up, his full height nearly 3 meters tall. Then you have chosen poorly, human. The transmission ended suddenly. Hyunwoo found himself standing alone in the empty chamber. The holographic displays faded to black. His heart pounded in his chest. He knew what came next. 12 hours later, the mining station on Titan exploded. Hyunwoo watched the footage in his quarters aboard the diplomatic ship. The station had been home to 12,000 people. Miners, engineers, families with children. The Krill warships had appeared without warning and fired a single massive weapon. The station broke apart like paper, scattering into space along with everyone inside. His hands shook as he watched. 12,000 people, gone in seconds. His communicator buzzed. It was Da-un's face on the screen and she looked furious. Did you see it? Yes, Hyunwoo said quietly. Those monsters killed 12,000 civilians as a warning shot. Da-un's voice was tight with anger. The Council is broadcasting it across the galaxy. They want everyone to see what happens when you defy them. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. He thought about the families on Titan. Parents who would never come home. Children who died before they understood why. What does Earth Command say? They're meeting now. But Hyunwoo, you need to come home. This is beyond diplomacy now, he nodded. I'm leaving within the hour. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. During that time, Hyunwoo barely slept. He kept seeing the explosion, kept thinking about the 12,000 voices that would never speak again. He also thought about what the Council had done. They had not attacked military targets. They had not given warnings. They had simply murdered civilians to make a point. When his ship entered Earth's atmosphere, he could see the lights of the capital city below. Millions of people going about their lives, not knowing that the galaxy had just declared war on them. The Council of Nations building was underground, protected by layers of concrete and steel. Hyunwoo entered the main chamber to find it packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. In the center sat 5 people who made the biggest decisions for humanity. One of them was Hai Wan, the head of Earth's intelligence service. She was younger than Hyunwoo, maybe 35, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. When she saw him, she nodded once. Another was Jinho, the chief of Earth's weapons research. He was an old man now, nearly 70, but his mind was still sharp as broken glass. He had been building weapons since before humans reached the stars. "Ambassador," the chairman said, "tell us everything." Hyunwoo told them about the Council's demand, about Thesh's threats, about the attack on Titan. When he finished, the room was silent. Then Jinho spoke. "How long until they attack Earth itself?" "Intelligence suggests 3 months," Haewon said. "The Krill are gathering their fleet. They want to make an example of us. Can we evacuate?" Someone asked. "To where?" Daeun's voice came through a speaker. She was still near Mars with the fleet. "The Council controls most of the galaxy. There's nowhere to run." "Then we surrender," another voice said. "No." The word came from Jinho. The old man stood up slowly. "We don't surrender. Not after what they did." "We can't fight the entire galaxy," the chairman said. "We have maybe 200 warships." "The Council has tens of thousands," Jinho smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "They think we have 200 warships." "They're wrong." Everyone turned to look at him. Hyunwoo felt something cold in his stomach. 30 years ago I started a project," Jinho continued. "We called it Horizon. The Council watched us build ships at Mars and Earth. They counted everyone. What they didn't see were the shipyards we built inside asteroids. Hidden shipyards in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. How many ships?" Taeyoon asked. "Enough," Jinho said. "And they're not like Council ships. We built them for war, real war. The kind humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years." The chairman leaned forward. "Are you saying we can win?" "I'm saying we can make them regret ever hearing the name Earth." Haewon pulled up a holographic display. It showed Council fleet movements, their supply lines, their communication networks. "I've been watching them for years. They're arrogant. They think war is about honor and rules. They've never fought an enemy that doesn't play by those rules." Hyunwoo understood then. The Council had made a fatal mistake. They thought humans were weak because they sought peace. They did not understand that seeking peace and being weak were not the same thing. They did not know that humanity had survived ice ages and plagues and world wars. They did not know that humans were very, very good at fighting. "What do we tell them?" the chairman asked. Hyunwoo thought about the 12,000 dead on Titan. He thought about every human who would die in the war to come. He thought about what the Council would do if humanity surrendered. They would take Earth's colonies. Then they would take more. They would never stop taking until humans were slaves or extinct. "We send them a message," Hyunwoo said. "One they'll understand." 20 minutes later, every communication network in the galaxy received the same broadcast. It was short. Just one sentence in every known language. "Since you chose war, prepare for the consequences." Across the galaxy, aliens heard the message and laughed. Humans were insects pretending to be warriors. This would be over quickly. They had no idea how wrong they were. The Mars naval shipyards floated in orbit around the red planet, visible to every telescope in the galaxy. Council spy satellites watched it constantly. They counted exactly 43 warships under construction, along with dozens of cargo vessels and mining ships. It looked like humanity was scrambling to build a defense force, which made the Council commanders laugh. What the satellites could not see were the shipyards hidden inside hollowed-out asteroids in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. Jinho stood inside one of these secret facilities, watching workers put the finishing touches on a destroyer-class warship. The asteroid was called Stone 7, though it had a different name on official human records. From outside, it looked like any other space rock. Inside, it had been carved into a massive construction bay over 30 years. "How many are ready?" Daeyoon asked. She had come to see the fleet for herself. "In this facility 38, Jinho said. "Across all 23 facilities, we have 742 combat ships ready to launch. Another 600 will be ready within 2 weeks." Daeun walked along the observation deck, looking down at the ships below. They were different from the ones being built at Mars. These were darker, covered in strange angles that scattered sensor readings. They had no fancy decorations or bright colors like Council ships. They were built for one purpose only: to kill. "The Council thinks we're desperate," Jinho said. "They think we're building whatever we can with whatever we have. They don't realize we've been preparing for this war since before we met them." "You knew this would happen?" Daeyoon asked. Jinho nodded slowly. "When we first met the Council 50 years ago, I read their history. I saw how they treated new species. Always the same pattern. First they welcome you. Then they demand tributes. Then they take what they want. I told Earth Command we needed to be ready. Dayun understood now why Jinho had been given unlimited funding for his projects. The council is going to be very surprised. Surprised and dead, Jinho said coldly. Back on Earth? Hei-Wan sat in her office deep underground, watching screens that showed information from across the galaxy. Her intelligence network had spent years building connections, planting sensors, and learning council secrets. Now all that work would pay off. Her assistant, a young man named Sung-Ho, brought her the latest reports. The Krill fleet is gathering at the staging point near Proxima. Looks like 3,000 ships total. Commanders? Thesh himself is leading. He wants to personally oversee humanity's destruction. Hei-Wan smiled without warmth. Good. He'll die personally then. She pulled up a tactical map showing the Sol system. The Krill fleet would arrive in 2 weeks, expecting to find a desperate human defense. Instead, they would find a trap. Send the signal to all hidden stations, she said. Phase 1 begins now. Across the solar system, humanity began moving. The ships at Mars shipyards launched as planned, making a show of panic and rushed preparation. The Council's spy satellites watched and sent reports back. Humans scrambling to defend. Estimate fewer than 200 combat-ready vessels. What the satellites missed were the thousands of small objects moving through the asteroid belt. They looked like mining drones, common enough in the belt that no one paid attention. In reality, each one carried weapons, sensors, or fuel. They were moving into position for the battle to come. Young Sik sat in his fighter cockpit, running through pre-flight checks for the 10th time. He was 24 years old and had trained his whole adult life for this moment. His fighter was small and fast, built for hit-and-run attacks. The Council had nothing like it. Their fighters were bigger, stronger, made for dueling other honorable opponents. Human fighters were made for killing quickly and running away. All wings. This is command. Dayun's voice came through his helmet. Enemy fleet will arrive in 13 days. Until then, we wait and prepare. Stay sharp, young Sik acknowledged and leaned back in his seat. Around him, hundreds of other fighters sat in the hidden hangar bay inside Stone 7. Every pilot knew the odds. The Krill had 3,000 ships. Humanity had maybe 1,500 when counting everything, including fighters and drones. But numbers were not everything. His commander, a woman named Bo-Ra, floated down from her fighter to his. Nervous? Should I be? Probably. But then again, they should be too if they knew what was coming. Young Sik grinned. Bo-Ra was 30 years old and had fought in the border wars before humans met aliens. She had seen real combat. What do you think will happen? I think the Krill are used to fighting enemies who think war is some kind of honor contest. We're going to show them what real war looks like. 13 days later, the Krill fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 3,000 massive warships, each one the size of a city block. They moved in perfect formation, sensors sweeping space ahead of them. On the flagship, Thesh looked at the tactical displays with satisfaction. Any sign of human defense? Minimal, Commander, his sensor officer reported. We detect approximately 200 ships near Mars. They appear to be in disarray. Thesh's lips pulled back from his teeth. They know they cannot win. They're scrambling like frightened prey. Proceed to Mars orbit. We will crush their fleet, then move on to Earth itself. The fleet began moving deeper into the system. They passed Jupiter without incident. They passed the asteroid belt, noting the mining stations but seeing no threats. Everything seemed quiet. That should have warned them. When they reached Mars orbit, they found the human fleet waiting. 200 ships, just as the sensors had predicted. The ships looked hastily assembled, barely combat-ready. Thesh opened a communication channel to the humans. This is Commander Thesh of the Galactic Council. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Dayun's face appeared on his screen. She was sitting in the command chair of her flagship, looking calm. This is Admiral Daun of the Human Defense Fleet. You killed 12,000 of our people. Did you expect us to surrender? I expect you to die, Thesh said. But I am curious. Why do you resist? Your 200 ships cannot defeat 3,000, Dayun smiled. It was a cold smile, the kind that made Thesh suddenly uncertain. You're right. 200 ships can't defeat 3,000. She pressed a button. All across the solar system, thousands of objects that had been classified as mining drones suddenly changed. Their outer shells fell away, revealing weapons and engines. They weren't drones. They were automated warships. Inside hollowed asteroids, hangar doors opened. Warships that had been hidden for 30 years powered up their engines and emerged into space. At listening posts scattered throughout the belt, weapon platforms activated. Railguns capable of accelerating projectiles to a fraction of light speed locked onto krill ships. And around Mars, orbiting in stealth mode with their engines cold and sensors passive, 700 human warships suddenly appeared on every krill sensor screen. Tesh stared at his tactical display in shock. The numbers were wrong. Completely wrong. Where did they all come from? His sensor officer's voice was shaking. Commander, I'm detecting over 1,000 human warships. No, 1,500. No more ships are appearing. I don't understand. Dayun's voice came through the speakers, calm and clear. You wanted war, Tesh. You killed our civilians to make a point. Now you're going to learn what happens when you threaten humanity's home. She made a cutting gesture with her hand. The railgun platforms fired first. Tungsten rods the size of telephone poles launched at tremendous speed. They were not explosive. They did not need to be. At the speeds they traveled, kinetic energy was enough. The first rod hit a krill battleship in the center. The ship broke apart like it was made of paper. Then the human fleet opened fire. Young Sik launched from his hangar along with 200 other fighters. They moved in groups of 10, each group with a specific target. Council fighters were scrambling to respond, but they moved in formation following their doctrine. Human fighters scattered, each one moving independently. Wing 7, target the carrier on the left. Bora's voice commanded. Hit the engines, then run. Don't try to fight their fighters. Young Sik dove toward his target, weapons firing. His missiles hit the carrier's engine section and exploded. Before the enemy fighters could respond, he was already gone, diving under the ship and accelerating away. This was not honorable combat. This was hit and run. This was guerrilla warfare in space. Across the battlefield, the krill realized they were in trouble. Their ships were designed for broadsides, for standing and trading fire with an equal opponent. Human ships did not stand still. They moved constantly, firing and running, using the asteroids and debris for cover. The automated warships were even worse. They attacked in swarms of 50 or more, overwhelming krill point defense. They did not care about losses. They just kept coming. Tesh watched his fleet being torn apart. Already he had lost over 300 ships. The humans had lost maybe 20. All ships retreat to... A railgun round hit his flagship. The command deck shook violently. Systems failed across the ship. Engines offline, someone shouted. We're dead in space. Dayun's face appeared on every screen in the krill fleet. You came here expecting an easy victory. You expected us to surrender or die quickly. But you made a mistake. You forgot something important about humans. She leaned forward. The Battle of Jupiter's moons would be studied for centuries after. Not because it was long or complicated, but because it showed the galaxy something they had never seen before. Humanity fought without honor, without mercy, and without stopping. Young Sik pulled his fighter into a tight turn around Europa, using the moon's gravity to slingshot toward a krill destroyer. His weapons officer, a calm woman named Jiwoo, locked missiles onto the target. Locked, firing, 6 missiles streaked toward the destroyer. They were small, not powerful enough to destroy a ship that size. The krill point defense shot down 5 of them. The 6th hit the destroyer's sensor array and exploded. Target blinded, Jiwoo said. Young Sik was already moving, diving under the destroyer. Behind him, 3 more fighters followed. They each fired missiles at the same ship. The krill vessel, unable to see properly, failed to shoot down any of them. 12 missiles hit in rapid succession. The destroyer's shields collapsed. Then the automated drones arrived. 50 small craft moving at full speed. They did not fire weapons. They simply crashed into the destroyer one after another. Each drone carried a small nuclear warhead. 50 nuclear explosions later, the destroyer was gone. That's suicide, a krill commander transmitted. What kind of monsters use suicide tactics? Bora's voice came through on the fighter channel. They're drones, idiot. No one died, but you're about to. Young Sik grinned inside his helmet. The krill did not understand. Every drone was controlled by an AI, not a living pilot. Humans had learned long ago that machines did not fear death. The Council banned AI warfare as dishonorable. Humanity had no such restrictions. Near Ganymede, a different kind of battle was happening. Mina led a team of 50 special operations soldiers on a boarding mission. Their target was a krill carrier that had been disabled by railgun fire. The carrier was still alive but unable to move or fight effectively. Minna's ship clamped onto the carrier's hull. Her team cut through the metal with plasma torches. Within minutes, they were inside. "Helmets sealed, weapons ready," she commanded. "Remember, we need command codes and navigation data. Kill anyone who resists." The Krill crew did not expect borders. The Council had rules against boarding actions. You did not invade another ship during battle. It was not done. Humans did not care what was done or not done. Minna's team moved through the corridors quickly. They used stun grenades and automatic weapons. The Krill soldiers were bigger and stronger, but they fought one-on-one, challenging opponents to duels. Human soldiers worked in pairs, covering each other, never fighting fair. Within 20 minutes, Minna's team had taken the bridge. She looked at the Krill captain who was wounded but alive. Navigation codes, now. "I will never." One of her soldiers shot the captain in the leg. The Krill screamed, "Navigation codes," Minna repeated. "Or the next shot goes through your head." The captain gave her the codes. Back on her ship, Minna transmitted the data to Haiwan's intelligence team. The navigation codes would let human ships travel through Council space without being detected as enemies. It was a huge advantage. "Good work," Haiwan's voice came through. "We're getting similar data from 3 other captured ships. The Krill are starting to realize we don't fight the way they expect." Minna looked out at the battle still raging around Jupiter. Human ships were everywhere now, no longer hiding. The Krill fleet that had arrived with 3,000 ships was down to less than 1,000. And they were running. On the human flagship, Dawn watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The battle was not over, but the outcome was clear. The Krill had lost. Jinho's face appeared on her screen. "Admiral, we should let some of them escape." Dawn frowned. "Why?" "Because I want them to go home and tell everyone what happened here. I want the whole galaxy to hear about this. Fear is a weapon too," Daeun understood. She opened a channel to all human ships. "All units, let the retreating vessels go. Do not pursue past Jupiter orbit." Young-Sik heard the order and pulled his fighter away from a fleeing Krill frigate. He was low on fuel anyway. Around him, the battle was ending. Hundreds of Krill ships were burning or broken. Human losses were surprisingly light, maybe 200 ships destroyed, most of them automated drones. As Young-Sik flew back toward his carrier, he passed through a debris field. Pieces of ships floated everywhere. Some still had air inside, lights flickering. He knew Krill soldiers were dying in those wrecks. Part of him felt bad about that. Then he remembered Titan. 12,000 civilians who never had a chance. His sympathy disappeared. The next day, the entire galaxy received broadcasts from the surviving Krill ships. They told of humanity's hidden fleet, of their kamikaze drones, of their boarding parties and railguns. They told of tactics that broke every rule of honorable warfare. In the Galactic Council chambers, the representatives listened in growing horror. They used automated weapons. One alien said, "That's forbidden by the Council Charter." They boarded disabled ships and tortured crews for information, another added. "This is barbarism." Hyunwoo stood before them, his face showing no emotion. "You killed 12,000 of our civilians. You expected us to follow rules? Rules you wrote? Rules designed to keep species like us under your control? There are civilized ways to conduct war," a council member protested. "No, there aren't," Hyunwoo said quietly. "War is not civilized. War is hell. You forgot that because you've been fighting each other with your rules for so long. But humanity remembers. We spent thousands of years fighting wars on our own planet. Real wars, total wars. Wars where entire cities burned and millions died." He pulled up images on the holographic display. Ancient human wars. The world wars, the nuclear bombings, the trenches and the death camps and the fire bombings. "This is what war looks like when humans do it," Hyunwoo said. "We tried to be better. We tried to follow your rules, to be peaceful neighbors. You responded by murdering our people. So now you get to see what happens when humans stop being civilized." The council chamber was silent. "The Krill fleet is destroyed," Hyunwoo continued. "But we're not done. Your species made a choice. You chose war. Now you live with the consequences." A jellyfish-like alien floated forward. "You cannot seriously intend to attack council space. We have hundreds of thousands of ships. And we have something you don't," Hyunwoo said. "We have experience fighting enemies who want to kill us. Every innovation humans ever made came from war. Our computers, our medicine, our space travel. All of it came from trying to kill each other better. You've had peace for centuries. You've forgotten what war really means. Dae-yoon's image appeared beside Hyunwoo. The council has 48 hours to surrender the Krill leadership for trial. If you refuse, we will come and take them, and we won't be gentle about it. Back on Earth, Tae-yang sat in a medical center, treating wounded soldiers from the Battle of Jupiter. He had been a doctor before the war, specializing in trauma surgery. Now he was patching up burns and shrapnel wounds. A young pilot was brought in badly injured. Tae-yang worked quickly, stabilizing her. As he worked, he listened to the news broadcasts. They were showing footage from the battle. Human ships swarming Krill vessels. Explosions lighting up space, victory. But Tae-yang saw the cost. The pilot in front of him would never fly again. Her injuries were too severe. Across the ward, other wounded lay in beds. Some would recover. Some would not. Is it worth it? The pilot asked weakly. Tae-yang looked at her. He thought about Titan, about the colonies, about Earth itself, which would have been next if the Krill had won. Yes, he said finally. It's worth it. 2 days later, the Galactic Council sent their response. They refused to surrender the Krill leadership. They claimed it would violate Council sovereignty. Dae-yoon read the message and laughed bitterly. Sovereignty? They want to talk about sovereignty after they destroyed Titan. She turned to her staff officers. Prepare the fleet. We're going into Council space. Jin-ho had been working non-stop since the battle ended. His engineers were already building new ships, new weapons. He had ideas for things the Council had never seen. Weapons that bent space itself. Missiles that could track targets through faster than light travel. Drones that could think and adapt like living soldiers. How long until we can strike? Dae-yoon asked him. The fleet is ready now, Jin-ho said, but I recommend we wait 2 weeks. I have some new toys that will make this much easier. Da-eun looked at the display showing Council space. Hundreds of star systems. Thousands of planets. Trillions of aliens who had no idea what was coming. 2 weeks, she agreed. Then we show them what happens when they threaten Earth. Young Sik and his squadron were training for the next phase. They practiced attacks in enemy territory, hit-and-run strikes, ambush tactics. Bora pushed them hard. The Council has never fought an enemy in their own space, she told them. They're used to fighting on the frontier in neutral zones. We're going to bring the war to their homes. We're going to make them feel what we felt when they attacked Titan. As Young Sik flew practice runs, he thought about what was coming. The Council had started this war expecting an easy victory. They got a nightmare instead, and now that nightmare was coming for them. All across human space, the message was the same. The Council chose war. Now they would face the consequences. 2 weeks after the Battle of Jupiter, the human fleet entered Council space for the first time. They came through 3 different routes simultaneously, splitting their forces to strike multiple targets at once. The Council's military, still reeling from the loss at Jupiter, scrambled to respond. Da-eun commanded the main fleet, heading toward the Krill home system. She had 1,500 warships under her command, including the new weapons Jin-ho had promised. As they traveled through Council territory, they encountered patrol fleets. The battles were short and brutal. Human ships did not waste time with honorable combat. They struck hard, destroyed their targets, and moved on. But something was bothering her. Haewon's intelligence reports showed unusual activity in Council space. Many systems were evacuating civilians. Some Council species were moving their ships away from Krill territory. They're splitting, Haewon told her over a secure channel. Not all Council species support this war anymore. Some want to negotiate, Dae-yoon looked at the star charts. Which ones? The Velen Collective, the Soren Unity, about 15 others. They're sending secret communications asking for peace talks. They claim the Krill forced them into this war. Do you believe them? Haewon was quiet for a moment. Some of them, yes. The intelligence suggests many Council species were as shocked by the Titan attack as we were. The Krill leadership acted without full Council approval. This changed things. Da-eun had been prepared to fight the entire galaxy. But if some species wanted peace, that opened other options. Back on Earth, Dong-hyun listened to these reports with great interest. He was a philosopher by training, recruited by Earth Command to help think through the moral questions of war. He had been arguing for weeks that humanity needed to show mercy somewhere, somehow. Otherwise, they would become exactly what the Council feared, a species of monsters. We have an opportunity, Dong-hyun told the Earth Council. If we accept negotiations with the species who want peace, we split the Council. We isolate the Krill, or we show weakness, Jin-ho countered. The Council will see negotiation as hesitation. They'll use the time to rebuild their forces. Hyunwoo, who had returned to Earth for these meetings, raised his hand. What if we do both? We negotiate with species who want peace, but we continue the war against the Krill. Show the galaxy that we can be reasonable, but also that we won't stop until the ones who killed our people face justice. The debate lasted hours. Finally, they decided to send 2 messages. One to the Council species seeking peace. We will meet to discuss terms. Another to the Krill. Surrender your leadership or watch your worlds burn. The Krill response came quickly. It was a video transmission from Thesh himself, who had survived the Battle of Jupiter but been badly wounded. His scales were burned and one eye was gone, but his voice was still defiant. Humans think they have won, but you have only awakened the true strength of the Krill Empire. We are the strongest military force in the galaxy. We will crush you even if it takes 1,000 years. Then the transmission showed something that made everyone watching go cold. It was a weapon, a massive device in orbit around a red star. The Krill called it the Starbreaker. This weapon can destroy a star, Thesh said. It can cause a sun to go nova, wiping out everything in the system. If you continue your attack, we will use it. First on your colonies, then on Earth itself. The transmission ended. Jinho immediately pulled up everything he could find about this weapon. It's real. The Krill have been building it for decades. We knew something was in that system but couldn't get close enough to scan it properly. Can we stop it? Taeyoon asked. Not if they use it right now. It would take our fastest ships weeks to reach that system. If they fire it at Seoul, Earth has maybe a month before the sun starts to die. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. They had won the military battle, but the Krill had one last card to play. A card that could end everything. We need to evacuate Earth, someone said. To where? Dong-hyun asked quietly. The Council controls most inhabitable planets. If we become refugees, we lose everything. We'd be at their mercy forever. Haewon was studying the intelligence reports. There's something wrong here. Look at the transmission. Thesh is injured, angry, but he's also desperate. Why reveal the weapon now? Why not just use it? He wants us to stop the attack, Jinho said slowly. He's hoping we'll negotiate out of fear. Or he can't use it yet, Haewon said. The weapon might not be ready. Or there's some limitation we don't know about. Da-eun made a decision. We proceed with the attack, but we also send a covert team to that system. Find out what's really going on with that weapon. The person she chose to lead that team was Min-ah. The special operations officer had proven herself at Jupiter. Now she had an even more dangerous mission. Min-ah selected 12 soldiers for her team. They took a small stealth ship, barely bigger than a shuttle, and headed for the system where the Starbreaker waited. The journey took 9 days. Every day they listened to reports of the war continuing. Human fleets were pushing deeper into Krill space. The Krill were fighting desperately but losing ground. When they arrived at the star system, Mina saw the weapon for the first time. It was enormous, built around the red star like a ring, cables and structures connecting to platforms on all sides. The technology was far beyond anything humans had built. How do we even approach that? One of her soldiers asked. Carefully, Mina said. They drifted toward the station with engines cold, using only small thrusters. It took 2 days to get close enough. During that time, they watched Krill ships coming and going. The station was heavily defended, but Mina noticed something. The ships were bringing supplies, lots of them. Power cells, coolant, rare metals. They're still building it, she realized. The weapon isn't finished. She sent an encrypted message back to Da-eun. Starbreaker incomplete. Estimated 3 months until operational. Heavy defenses, but vulnerable. Da-eun received the message and smiled grimly. Jinho, how fast can you get weapons to that system? If I send the new long-range missiles now, they'll arrive in 12 days. Do it. Meanwhile, Young-sik and his squadron had been transferred to deep strike missions. They were operating inside Krill territory now, hundreds of light years from Earth. Their target was a Krill military academy, where officers were trained. Bora briefed them before the mission. The Council has rules against attacking educational facilities. We're going to break that rule. Young-sik felt uncomfortable. These are students. Some might not even be adults. These students will graduate to command ships that kill humans, Bora said flatly. Every Krill we stop now is one who won't kill us later. I don't like it either. But this is war. The attack was quick. They hit the Academy's defensive systems first, then targeted the main buildings. Young-Sik tried not to think about who was inside. He just followed orders, launched his missiles, and left. On the flight back, his co-pilot Jiwoo was quiet. Finally, she said, "Are we the bad guys now?" Young-Sik did not have an answer. Back on Earth, Taeyang was dealing with different kinds of wounds. Refugees had started arriving from human colonies near Krill space. They brought stories of Krill reprisals, civilian stations destroyed, transports attacked. The Krill were targeting anyone connected to humanity. One refugee was a girl, maybe 10 years old. She had been on Europa Station when the Krill attacked again. She survived only because her parents pushed her into an escape pod. They did not make it. Taeyang treated her physical injuries easily enough, but he knew the mental scars would never fully heal. He thought about all the children like her on both sides of this war. Human children who lost parents. Krill children who would lose parents soon. Is it worth it? He asked himself again. The same question the wounded pilot had asked him. He still did not have a good answer. Dong-hyun arrived at Earth Command with a proposal. We need to offer the Krill a way out. Not their leadership. They're responsible for too much. But the regular Krill people. Give them a choice. Remove their leaders and surrender or watch their worlds burn. That's propaganda, someone said. That's mercy. Dong-hyun corrected. We're not monsters. We fight because we have to, but if we can end this without killing billions, we should try. Hyunwoo supported the idea. They drafted a message and broadcast it across Krill space. The Krill leadership started this war. They killed our civilians. They threatened our home. But the Krill people do not have to share their leader's fate. Remove those responsible, surrender them for justice, make peace, or continue this war until nothing is left. The response came from an unexpected source, not from Thesh or the Krill government, but from a Krill military officer named Vesh. His transmission was shaky, clearly sent in secret. I am Commander Vesh of the 3rd Fleet. The leadership is hiding the truth from our people. They say you are monsters who kill without reason. But I was at Jupiter. I saw what really happened. You fought to defend your home. Just as we would fight to defend ours, he paused, looking around nervously. I am not alone. Many Krill officers question this war, but our leadership will never surrender. They would rather see every Krill die than admit they were wrong. If you truly want peace, you must help us remove them. The transmission ended. Haewon studied the message carefully. It could be a trap. The message to Commander Vesh was simple. We will support your coup. But the Starbreaker must be destroyed first. No weapons of mass destruction can remain. Vesh agreed. He sent detailed intelligence about the station's defenses, guard schedules, and weak points. Haewon analyzed everything carefully. It matched what Minna's team had discovered independently. Either the intelligence was genuine or this was the most elaborate trap in history. We proceed, Daun decided. Minna, you have authorization to destroy the Starbreaker by any means necessary. On her stealth ship near the weapons station, Minna gathered her team. Jinho's missiles will arrive in 6 days. Our job is to get inside before then and disable whatever defenses we can. When the missiles hit, we need to be sure that weapon is destroyed completely. One of her soldiers, a young man named Kyung-soo, looked at the station. How do we even get inside? There are 100 Krill guards. Not all Krill support this weapon, Minna said. She opened a secure channel. A Krill face appeared, looking nervous. It was one of Vesh's people. This is Engineer Dax. He's going to help us. Dax had been working on the Starbreaker for 3 years. He hated it. The weapon was meant to destroy stars, to kill billions. When Vesh contacted him about the coup, Dax immediately agreed to help. There is a maintenance shaft, Dax explained in broken human language. Your team can enter there. I will disable the sensors for 10 minutes. That is all I can do without being discovered. 10 minutes, Minna said. We'll make it work. 3 days later, Minna and her team floated through space toward the maintenance shaft. They wore suits that scattered sensor readings, making them nearly invisible. Dax kept his promise. The sensors went offline exactly on time. They entered the station quickly. Inside, the corridors were huge, built for Krill who stood over 2 meters tall. Minna's team moved in silence, using the maps Dax had provided. They needed to reach the main reactor control room. They encountered 2 Krill guards along the way. Minna's team killed them quietly with suppressed weapons. No alarms, no noise. Just 2 bodies floating in zero gravity. When they reached the control room, Kyung-soo went to work on the systems. I can sabotage the cooling system. When Jinho's missiles hit, the reactor will go critical. The whole station will explode. How long? Need 30 minutes. They did not have 30 minutes. Alarms started blaring. The dead guards had been found. Hold them off, Mina ordered. She and half her team took positions at the doorway while Kyung-soo worked frantically on the controls. Krill soldiers poured down the corridor. They were big, strong, and angry, but Mina's team had prepared for this. They had brought heavy weapons, explosives, everything they needed for a last stand. The battle in that corridor was brutal. Krill soldiers charging forward, human soldiers holding the line. Mina went through 3 magazines, her rifle burning hot. Beside her, soldiers fell wounded, but they held. Done. Kyung-soo shouted. The cooling system is offline. It'll overload when anything hits the station hard enough. Everyone back to the ship, Mina ordered. Getting out was harder than getting in. Krill soldiers were everywhere now. Mina's team fought their way back toward the maintenance shaft. 2 soldiers died in the fighting. A third was badly wounded, but they carried him. They reached their ship with Krill soldiers shooting at them. Mina's pilot, a woman named Subin, already had the engines hot. The moment everyone was aboard, she launched. Krill fighters pursued them, but Subin was one of the best pilots in the human fleet. She dodged between pieces of debris, used the star's gravity to slingshot them away, and activated every stealth system they had. After an hour of pursuit, they finally lost the Krill ships. We're clear, Subin reported. But we're beat up. Hull damage, engines at 60%. Doesn't matter, Mina said. We did the job. Now we just need to survive long enough to see it. 3 days later, Jinho's missiles arrived. They were not normal missiles. Each one was the size of a small ship, accelerated to tremendous speeds over weeks of travel. When they hit the Starbreaker station, they hit with the force of nuclear weapons. The station's shields held for maybe 5 seconds. Then they collapsed. The missiles punched through the hull and exploded inside. Kyung-soo's sabotage did the rest. The cooling system failed. The reactor went critical. From a safe distance, Mina and her team watched the Starbreaker explode. It was beautiful in a terrible way. The massive station broke apart, pieces flying in all directions. The weapon that could have destroyed Earth died before it ever fired a shot. Confirmed destruction, Mina reported. The Starbreaker is gone. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. The weapon that threatened their home was destroyed. But the war was not over yet. Commander Vesh made his move the same day. He had spent weeks preparing, gathering officers loyal to him, positioning ships in key locations. When the Starbreaker exploded, it was his signal. His fleet moved against the Krill homeworld. The government's loyal forces tried to stop him, but Vesh's people were ready. The battle lasted 6 hours. In the end, Vesh's forces surrounded the government complex. Vesh himself tried to escape in a private ship. Young 6th Squadron intercepted him. There was a brief chase through the asteroid field around the Krill homeworld. Then Bora's missile hit Thesh's ship. It exploded into fragments. Target destroyed, Bora reported calmly. Thesh is dead. With their leadership dead or captured, the Krill resistance collapsed. Vesh broadcast from the government complex. This war is over. The ones who started it are gone. We surrender to humanity's terms. Daeun wanted to keep fighting. They had the momentum. They could conquer the entire Krill empire. But Hyunwoo and Donghyun convinced her otherwise. If we conquer them, we become conquerors, Donghyun said. We become exactly what we fought against. Better to accept their surrender and build something new. The peace negotiations took place on a neutral station, provided by the council species, who had stayed out of the fighting. Hyunwoo represented humanity. Vesh represented the new Krill government. Representatives from 40 other council species watched. The terms were harsh but fair. The Krill had to completely disarm their military for 50 years. They had to pay reparations to the families of those killed on Titan. They had to surrender all war criminals for trial, and they had to accept humanity as a permanent member of a reformed Galactic Council. Vesh signed without complaint. We brought this on ourselves. These terms are just. The treaty was signed 6 months after the war began. In that time, humanity had gone from a species the galaxy dismissed to one everyone feared. They had proven that humans could fight better, think faster, and strike harder than anyone expected. But the cost had been terrible. 50,000 humans died in the war, millions of Krill, countless ships destroyed, whole stations gone. Taeyang attended the signing ceremony, now serving as humanity's chief medical officer. He had treated thousands of wounded from both sides. He knew the real cost of war better than anyone. After the ceremony, he found himself talking with a Krill doctor named Kes. They spoke about the wounded they had treated, the lives they had tried to save. Why did this have to happen? Kes asked. So much death.
For what?
Because your leaders thought humans were weak, Taeyang said sadly. They forgot that seeking peace is not the same as being peaceful. They forgot that sometimes the kindest people, when pushed too far, can become the most dangerous. 10 years passed. The galaxy changed. The Galactic Council was reformed. Instead of the old system where powerful species dominated, the new council gave every species an equal voice. Humanity made sure of that. They remembered being powerless, and they made sure no one else would feel that way. Minna retired from the military and became an instructor. She taught young officers from dozens of species how to fight, but she also taught them about honor, mercy, and knowing when not to fight. Jinho finally retired at the age of 80. He had spent his entire adult life building weapons. Now he wanted to build something else. He started a foundation to help rebuild worlds damaged in the war. Dayun became humanity's first galactic admiral, commanding a combined fleet of ships from multiple species. The council realized that humans were very good at military matters. They asked Dayun to train their forces to teach them human tactics. She agreed, but on one condition. We only use these skills for defense, never for conquest. Young Sik survived the war and became a legend among fighter pilots. He trained a new generation, including many Krill pilots. His best student was the daughter of a Krill soldier who died in the Battle of Jupiter. She wanted to learn from the humans who defeated her father. Bora watched her former student train the next generation and felt satisfied. Humanity had won the war, but more importantly, they were winning the peace. Heywan continued running Earth's intelligence service, but now she worked with intelligence agencies from other species. They shared information, prevented conflicts, and stopped small problems before they became big wars. The best war, she often said, is the one that never happens. Donghyun became a teacher again, traveling across the galaxy giving lectures about ethics, war, and peace. Many species wanted to understand how humanity balanced being so dangerous with being so merciful. He tried to explain we are dangerous because we had to be. We are merciful because we choose to be.